So, when it comes to filmmaking, not only does it require several different types of artists and creatives to bring a film to life, it also requires several different types of gear that vary in levels of importance. For example, the camera, because it really is what makes a movie, but when used just right, it can tell the story in ways that dialogue just simply can't. Which is why, of course, it's going into the S tier. So on this tier list, I've got 9 other pieces of essential filmmaking gear, and we're gonna rank them all. So let's get into it. So moving on, we've got gaffer tape. Now gaffer tape is not your simple paper tape, painter's tape, or duct tape. This has a lot of different uses on a film set, whether you're talking about marking the ground so the actors know where to stand in frame, taping down cables so nobody trips over them when necessary. Plus you can stick this onto any surface, peel it right off, and no damage will be done. It's freaking great. Now as helpful and as versatile as gaffer tape is, this stuff is also $20 to $30 a roll, and that frankly pisses me off. And just for that, I'm gonna stick it into the B tier. Now, one important thing to note here is I'm ranking a lot of this gear based on my own personal experience using them on my own short films and on different sets I've been a part of. I'll have a link to the tier list in the description below so you can arrange them however the heck you want, but also feel free to comment down below which piece of gear you think is the most important and the least important. But anyway, back to it. Moving right along, we've got the microphone / boom pole / sound recorder, basically any on-set method of recording sound. Capturing great sound is absolutely essential. Now, of course, there's a lot to do with sound on the post-production end of things, like recording sound effects, music, Foley, ADR, but capturing really good sound on the day, it'll make things 10 times better. And when it comes to movies, sound is just as important, if not more important, than the image itself, so obviously it's gotta go into the S tier. And of course, when you're out making a movie and stuff, it's often several hours of being on your feet, doing all kinds of, cool behind the scenes stuff, but eventually you gotta sit down, which is where a director's chair will come into play. These of course aren't just for directors themselves, actors, producers, important people that may or may not have given you money to make your movie. Now I do own a director's chair that I bought from Goodwill for like $10 back in the day. I actually sat in that chair for a lot of videos on this channel back 5-6 years ago, so feel free to check that out if you want to, I guess. Many people have complained about these chairs being super uncomfortable and, just not that great because you're basically just sitting on a stretched out piece of fabric canvasy stuff. Personally, I don't think they're that bad, but they're not that great either, so I'm gonna put them into the B tier. Actually, I'm gonna put them in the C tier. C for chair. So this next one does kind of go hand in hand with the camera, and that's going to be the lens, or the lenses if you're cool enough and you got the money for that. So that automatically earns it a spot in the S tier. But of course, when it comes to using a lens, different types will give you different results. Like the one I'm using right now is a Sigma 17 to 50 millimeter, and this one has way better options than my standard 14 to 42 millimeter kit lens that came with this camera. There are zoom lenses, prime lenses, which are just one fixed focal length. Either way, lenses, they matter, they make your movie look really good, so S tier it goes. Moving right along, we've got the clapper board or the film slate, whatever you want to call it. This is basically just a board with stuff like the title of production, director, the scene number, the shot number, the take, with a little piece at the top that goes clappity clap, which is then used in post to sync up the footage and the separate audio recordings. They're super cool, you can buy them as souvenirs at Universal Studios, but on the flip side of that, if you're a small-time production just making short movies with your friends or whatever, you could get away with just saying what take it is in front of the camera and clapping your hands, which is something I did many times with my recent short film. So while a film slate does have its substitutes, I'm still gonna put it into the A tier. Next up, we've got lighting, or a light kit. Basically just all the lights you use to make the image look cool and so you could actually see crap. Or not see crap, depending on what kind of movie you're making. I think this one goes without saying that lighting is super important, whether you're making YouTube videos, short films, feature films, whatever. You gotta have some source of illumination, whether it be cheap $30 ring lights or super high-end expensive softboxes. Lighting is the perfect way to set the tone for any scene, whether you're talking dramatic, lighthearted, depressing, scary, even if they're desk lamps with $20 Roku smart home bulbs that change colors. Watch, I'll do it right now. suddenly everything feels a little depressing. And with that, lighting is going into the A tier. Why isn't that going into the S tier? Because I said so. Alright, we're really starting to whittle down the list here. Now we've got Apple boxes. These are a multi-purpose item. These are used for all sorts of things, whether it just be something to rest on in between takes. It can also be used to prop up certain lights and props. Or if you're Tom Cruise, you can stand on one of these and suddenly you look like you're 6 feet tall and more imposing that way. So for that, they're going into the A tier. A for apples. For the second to last piece of gear on our list, we've got the tripod. Now, do I really have to go into detail about why tripods are great? Now, of course, when it comes to these, they're not like an essential must-have for every single project. You know, because if you're doing lots of run and gun type stuff, going more handheld or using a shoulder rig might be more your speed, but generally speaking, it's always good to have a tripod, so I'm gonna put it into the A tier. And before we wrap things up here with our final piece of gear on the list, if you're enjoying this video so far, consider subscribing if you like making movies or talking movies. That's basically my entire personality, so hey, if you're like that too, welcome. So for the final piece of gear on this tier list, this I believe is one of the most important pieces of gear and also one of the most underrated, and that of course is the C-stand. Not the light stand, not a tripod, but the C-stand itself. If you've ever been to film school or on a film set, you know just how god-level C-stands can be. These things are heavy duty, they come in so many different lengths. If you have a boom arm attached to one, which you freaking should, you could mount virtually anything to these. Camera, your lighting, your microphone, flags for controlling the light. The possibilities are honestly endless. Now, unfortunately, I don't personally own any C-stands myself. I really want to. The problem is they are quite expensive. Even the cheaper ones are going to run you at least $100 each, and that might not even include the arm. They are going to make your life so much better. And for that, I'm putting them into the S tier. I really need to buy some C-stands. So that's my filmmaking gear tier list. If you want to see another filmmaking video from me, I got just the thing right over here. Otherwise, we'll see you on the Brockopp. See ya.